Okay.
Can you see the screen? My screen?
Go ahead, Derek.
All right, everyone can see the screen with the PowerPoint?
Yes.
All right, well, good evening. Thank you for having us tonight. Tonight's presentation is going to consist of the following topics: the work progress, September 2020, the plan work for October, and the associated construction photos for the work that was completed over the summer. Starting with the work scheduled for September, finished the nurses area. This consisted of reconfiguration of the walls, new floors, walls, ceiling, lighting, HVAC. Temporary casework had to be installed due to lead times. The new casework is expected to be delivered and replace the temporary on September 28th. Classrooms 49 and 51. These also required a reconfiguration, new floors, walls, ceilings, lighting, and HVAC. Staff bathrooms in Area B. This is an area by the nurse's office. New ceramic tile on floors and walls, new ceilings, lighting, and plumbing fixtures. Completed structural repair for room 54. If you remember, this was a change order that was brought to the board's attention late in August. We were able to get a contractor to renew on board. They jumped right in. They worked the next weekend following BBS's design. We got the area all repaired and allowed for Stalco to come in and put the ceiling and lighting behind it in the same room. So room 54 was ready for the first day of school. They also installed a new interior ADA ramp and railing. That work was actually scheduled for next year. That was one of many items that we were able to do up front, and it's going to just help us in the summer of 2021. They connected the new building, Area G, that's a junior high school entrance area. They poured the footings, they poured the walls, they poured the concrete slab, installed the CMU, installed steel and the metal decking. Not that much further along than we anticipated it would. It's good for both the construction and the building occupants as that egress is fully reestablished. And we walked it with the fire marshal who was happy with all the egress plans for the building. Did a very similar task at the Area A. We installed the footings, the walls, the slab, some of the CMU. They didn't quite get to the steel and the roof decking, but they'll be doing that on weekends or over a break. They also installed the new transformer pad and conduits. The new service that will ultimately service the existing building and the new building. And we're hoping that we'll do a switch over to the new system over the winter break. Land Tech did the clearing of the new ball fields, cleared out the existing trees, shrubs, and they're starting to prep it for the new soccer fields. Work scheduled for October. They're going to be continuing with the new wall CMU for the new addition. That's the masonry walls that create the exterior and interior of the building. They're about 30% complete as of today. We're continuing installing the steel beams and decking. We estimate that at about 25% complete. MEP, that's the mechanical contractor, electrical and plumbing. They're roughing in conduits with the masonry work, so they're following along with the mason, getting all their conduits and materials into the walls as the walls start to go up. So they're about 30% complete with that as well. Clearing of the field and ball fields is about 85% complete. Construction of the new ball fields, they're currently rototilling the soils and starting to stockpile topsoil to establish new grades for the new fields. They plan to sod the new fields and be pretty much 100% by early November. Here's some photos of the work that was completed over the summer. This is the nurse's office. As I mentioned earlier, the temporary cabinets are shown in the left. Those will be replaced at the end of September. To the right, it's an eye wash station in orange. You can see the walls, the floor, the ceiling, and lighting. This is rooms 49 and 51. Refinished the existing wood floors, which they came back very good. Walls, new painted, new ceilings, new HVAC in those rooms. It's a new staff bathrooms outside the nurse's office with a new ceramic wall tile, floor tile, new fixtures, ADA compliance components. This is the wood truss in room 54. It was a wood truss that had failed, so they jacked it up, resupported it, sistered it with some new materials, through bolted it, and we're able to accomplish it much quicker than we anticipated. We have not got the finalized change order back from them, but the board had authorized $34,000, and I believe it's going to come in considerably less than that. A new ceiling and lighting in room 54. So this is the same room that had the truss repair, and it's the new ceiling and lighting once that repair was completed. These photos are the connecting link. So this is the junior high area. The picture to the left, you're looking out, which will be the new connection to the new building. The photo to the right is if you just went beyond those doors and we're looking out, and that is currently the temporary egress. That's what the fencing is, just guiding the students in the event they had to exit through that pathway. You can see some of the steel stood up, some of the masonry. This photo was a few days old, so it's considerably further along today. Disregard that one. This is a connecting link. This is the other connecting link near the existing gym. The brick in the left photo, in the upper right-hand corner of the left photo, that's your existing gym. To the left is scaffolding. Beyond that scaffolding is the doorway into that corridor. So that would be a new connection link. That scaffolding has been removed, and that's currently another emergency egress for the students. If you were to look to the right of that photo, that would be the new gym area to the right of that left photo. And then you can see some of the conduits going in the right photo, some of the masonry CMU going up, window penetrations made, getting ready for some more of the structural steel, also doorways, the frames being installed. This is the new conduit and transformer pad. To the left, you can see all the conduits. That goes to the new switch gear that will support both buildings. In the right photo, you can see the conduit stubbing through the slab. That's the same conduits that you see in the left photo. In the far right of that photo is the new transformer pad next to the gentleman in the green shirt. That concrete has since been poured back and is accessible. And again, we're hoping to have that all completed, ready for a switchover, and get both buildings on the new service over the Christmas holiday. This is some of the clearing that has occurred back by the new soccer fields. To the left just shows them after they removed the trees, the stumps, the brush. To the right, They're chipping up the debris to export it off the site. In addition to this clearing, they also did the clearing for the bus parking lot and access road, which are not shown in these photos, but were also accomplished over the past couple weeks. That's the last photo, I believe. Any questions or comments?
Jay, just everything looks good. I mean, when we did the walkthrough, you can really see the changes even shortly since we did that about a month ago when we walked through the building together. So I have to say I'm very excited by the progress we're making, and it's, you know, it really is making the building more inviting, and I'm just looking forward to as the rest of it evolves. I appreciate you sharing that with us tonight.
Yeah, thank you. It's so impressive. I drove through there yesterday, actually, coming home from the beach. I like to drive through the driveway there and just see what's going on. Like, wow, I can't believe how high those walls are from the last time I saw it. It's just, it's so, you know, exciting to watch what's going on there.
Yeah, I mean, they're moving along. I don't want to curse it, but we are currently ahead of schedule for the exterior. It's just the trick is to keep it there through the winter. That's where we could lose some time, but it's nice going into the winter with a head start.
Definitely. Thank you very much.
Any other questions?
No, it seems like, I guess your meetings are going well, and we'll, you know, now that that one issue has resolved itself in room 54 with that truss, everything else is pretty much straight ahead with the existing plans, and nothing else has cropped up at this point, right?
No, I think Jim, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe we have anything coming down the pipeline as far as like a change order at this juncture.
No, as far as any issues that come up during construction, you know, things in the field that get discovered, we've been working out with the contractor. So it's, you know, helping move things along. We have guy from our office, Dave, has been very instrumental, and John, of course, Longo, in addressing the questions as they arise. So as the RFIs come in, we try to jump on them right away and circulate them to the, you know, appropriate people that can, you know, make the determination of what needs to be done, whether that involves a meeting with the contractor or the sometimes the school district to get their input. And we make sure we try to, you know, move those along quickly. So I think to this point, you know, the contractors are appreciative of that, and I know the construction managers are, because that's the one thing that'll drive them crazy when there's open questions and things aren't getting answered. But some do take time, and others we should be, you know, we typically turn around in a day or two. So we're just going to try and stay on top of that and allow the construction to you know, move along. But you know, as far as anything really of a problem, you know, nature of a problem, it's been minor things to this point.
I asked Derek today, Barbara, for a drone flyover, and there'll be somebody coming out on Wednesday to do that of the construction area, so that we can use that drone footage for our back to school night. And kick off our back to school night with some drone footage. So thank you, Derek, for arranging that so quickly. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Great, thank you. Actually, I do have another question. When we were first trying to figure out the budget for this, you know, of course, this was a couple years away. The question was, oh, well, you know, well, what's the price of steel going to be like? How do we know how accurate our estimate's going to be? Now that you're actually in the steel using portion of this, where do we stand in terms of our estimates, and how's that looking?
Well, nothing's really changed since they submitted their bids. So we know where the budget was at when the bids came in and everything was awarded. So everything got locked in at that point, regardless of what the cost is of steel now. They can't come back and say, oh, that, you know, that steel that we bid, you know, almost 6 months ago is now 10% more, we gotta make that up, but that's, and once they submit their bids, they've anticipated that there'd be an increase. And a lot of our budget numbers, we anticipated escalation over a course of a couple of years. Now that escalation has increased more than the 4% that we normally assess to each year. So that kind of, I think, hurt us when we did get the final bids, and we weren't as low as we would have liked to be, where we could have awarded more things. But all in all, the numbers held pretty true. And, at this point, there's no looking back or turning back from the contractors in terms of getting things done.
Right. Okay, thank you. Does anybody else have any questions for Derek or Jim?
About these sports fields, I'm just trying to visualize exactly where the big mound is in the back with the grass on top. On the far side of that, are you clearing as close as right on the other side of that mound, or are you a little further back? Because I haven't been back there.
Yeah, it's being cleared beyond that mound. And if you were looking at the mound with the school behind you, towards the right of that mound was all being cleared. Then there's an intermediate stretch of trees that passes between the two fields. Those trees are coming down as well. If you were to go out there tomorrow, it's about as much clearing that's going to take place as far as large trees coming down. Now they're just doing some of the cleanup, the shrubs, the stump, and miscellaneous stuff like that. So the clearing is essentially done as of a day or so ago. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Yep.
All right.
Okay,
Well,
thanks, Derek. If there aren't any more questions, we can finish up with this portion of this evening, and we'll certainly be seeing Derek and Jim again at our next meeting.
Hey, Jim, I like the yellow, dude. Looks good on you.
Thank you, guys.
yes, thanks for having us. Have a good night.
Thanks a lot. You have a good night too. Okay, that's so great to see those photos. I'm really glad we're going to get drone ones. That's going to make an understanding of that visual, like for the fields and stuff like that, just that much easier. So really looking forward to that. So at this time, it is time for public commentary number 1 on the items of board business that we have there regarding personnel, finance, and nothing for policy this time. Julie or Carrie, are there any questions on items of board business at this point?
No, I don't have anything through email.
Okay, thanks.
I do not have anything either.
Great. So if you want to go ahead and go into personnel, that would be great.
Sure. Sorry, I'm just bringing up board docs. I'm on doing it a little different tonight so you could all hear me. Okay, so personnel this evening, A is the rescind appointment of Carrie Del Salvo, one of our substitute bus drivers. B is the appointment of Alvers Carlos Hugo, bus driver. He passed his test, so we're happy to have him on board. C is the appointment of Suzette Davis, a school bus driver. She is coming back. She used to be one of our bus drivers, so we're happy to have her back as well. D are home ABA services. Vicky Firemark and Larissa Davis will continue doing that for this year. E is appointment for Brittany Panizzo, science teacher, due to our cohorts and making sure that they have remote time to touch base with students. She will be teaching an extra class per day. F is the amendment of Devin and Jasmine's sub rate. G is a medical leave for one of our employees. We're going to pull that, Carrie. Okay.
We're pulling that, so, okey-dokey, so pulling G. H is the leave for Laura Dunham as a special ed teacher. She asked to take a leave as our special ed teacher to be a general ed teacher. So that's a probationary appointment for Miss Dunham. And she will be going into our 5th grade classroom. And Miss Bickley will go back into Math AIS. So thank you, Miss Bickley, for stepping in when we needed you. J is the appointment of Jaren. That's spelt wrong, Jules, if you can fix it, Rone. Greenridge. There's no R in there either. Okay. To be 5 days, to work 5 days to help with Laura's leave from special ed until we find a permanent special ed teacher.
Is she in a new tenure area by doing that? Going to back to the,
Yeah, she's in a new tenure area.
so she'll be doing the 4 years for tenure.
Well, it'll be 3 years because
3 years, right?
Yes.
And then the 0.2, is that capped, or is that a sixth of her salary? The science
That's
teacher?
capped. That's that's their. It's not her salary as per their contract.
Right.
That was negotiated. Okay. Yep. And then we had presenters at the superintendent conference day. Thank you for doing that. Jacqueline Rambo, Stacy McCauley, Caitlin Cangelosi, Teresa Lam, and Billy Hallman did some PD for us, for our staff during those days. So that was wonderful. And that is personnel. Any questions?
Thanks, Carrie. Does anyone have any questions at this time? Okay, then do I have a motion to move personnel items A through F and H through K to consent agenda?
Motion.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Thanks, Mike. If you want to go ahead and handle finance items now?
Okay, the usual finance items. The first item is the warrants for August, which includes the major expenditures report. Item B is the claims auditor's report. And in there, she's got a kind of slightly different version of a summary for what she's done on the claims audit with some statistics and some explanations.
Mike, just go back to the other finance that was just informational, please, before you do ones that need board.
Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped right over that page.
Thank you.
All right, informational ones, you've got item A is the appropriation status report for the current year through, actually through the beginning of September. And the same thing with B is the revenue status report through the beginning of September. All right, so those are informational. Item B, finance, is the warrants, as I explained. Claims audit report is B. C is the,
Oh, wait, I had a question about the claims audit report, because this is now in like a somewhat different format
yeah, there's a summary here she's got.
down at the bottom.
Yeah,
Okay, because I was like, for one of them, I was looking at warrant date. There were 3 inquiries on that, but it looked like 2 of them were resolved and 1 was not. So I wasn't sure then which at the bottom, which that was.
I'll have to ask her. I'm not sure which one she considers not being resolved.
Right, because she mentioned at the bottom, remember how things were resolved, but I didn't know if that was that particular one, because it used to say next to each one what it was and how what you know how it got resolved. So I was just a little confused by this new.
All right, I'll talk to her and get a better clarification on that.
Okay, thanks.
All right, any other questions on that report? All right, so item C is the 2020-21 federal Part B flow through. This is monies that we owe the county for some special ed services on the 611 and 619 grant. Item D is an agreement for Bilingual Achieve Beyond is the name of the company. Item E is the appointment of Douglas A. Spencer as an impartial hearing investigator. And that should do it for the finance items.
Thanks, Mike. Sorry, can we go back to the flow through with federal Part B flow through?
Yeah,
So is this, you're saying this is, so the total on there of 9,000, whatever, this is money that we owe to Suffolk County?
Suffolk County. Yep.
The way it works, Barbara, is the federal government gives the state money, and then the state gives us money, and then we give the money to the county for preschool special education children.
Okay.
That's why it's called flow through monies.
Right. I just felt like I don't remember seeing this before. So have I just forgotten it, or is it not something that happens with us all the time?
We've had it every year at least every year that I've been with Springs.
Okay.
Yes, that's an every year thing, Barbara.
Okay. That letter format just didn't look familiar. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Does anybody else have a question at this point? Okay, then do I have a motion to move finance items A through E to a consent agenda?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Terry, special education, please.
Yes, we just had one CSE since August, just to modify a student for medical reasons. So that's what is before you.
Okay. Be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby accepts the recommendations from the Committee on Special Education, CSE, case number 1. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. Thank you very much. And then we'll have a report from our acting principal, Christine Cleary.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Now I can't hear you. This is showing that you're on mute right now.
Right. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, great. I have my phone going and my computer. Good evening, everybody. Good to see everyone. So I just wanted to talk for a few minutes about some reflections that we had after our grand reopening on September 8th and 9th, really, for Superintendent's Conference Day. And then, of course, the kids came back the 10th and 11th in their cohorts. So I'm just going to present 2 slides. Let's see. Let me know. Can you see that?
Not yet.
Now, can you see it?
Nope.
Not
Anybody
yet?
else see it?
Okay.
Gonna share it up top as well, Christine.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. You got it.
All right. So, spring school reopening reflections. So broke this down into glows and grows. So some of the glows, things that we want to celebrate that we think really went well, are the building was clean and safe and ready. The custodians worked extremely hard on signage in the building and outside of the building, the sidewalk and floor markers for social distancing, hand sanitizer stations, paper towels as opposed to the blowers in the bathrooms. All of those things were installed and in working order as of September 8th. So we want to thank our custodial team. They did a tremendous job on getting the building ready. There is still some work to be done, but that all the essentials were in place. Superintendent's conference days, our staff came in on the 8th and the 9th to do some training and some planning. We had about 135 staff members, from the teachers to the bus drivers to the lunch and recess monitors and everyone in between. It was virtual, of course, and there were different mandated trainings, such as sexual harassment training that was done by Steve Goodstadt, one of our attorneys. We had our emergency response team and protocols. And we also, we switched things up for the teachers. We heard that they had a need for some Google Classroom training at the primary grade levels. And so we made sure to schedule some time in where they could get that training so that all of our teachers could be on the same platform. So we thought that would be a little better for the parents for remote learning and the kids. The classrooms were prepared and inviting, and we'd like to thank our teachers for that. We did make sure that they had some time to plan and get together in their cohorts and work on their rooms. Technology was up and running, so we want to thank our amazing IT team, John and Bryant. We welcomed 326 students on the 10th in cohort A and 330 students on the 11th, which was cohort B. That breaks down to about, we had 92% attendance rate on Thursday and a 93% attendance rate on Friday. So that was really great considering, you know, this was new and had never been done before. And we were really happy. Everybody was happy to see each other for the first time in 6 months. Safe and efficient movement. So we had car line for arrival and dismissal, buses, the entranceways, the hallways, the playground during the day, the field out for recess. All of those areas were supervised by staff and car line. There were assistants that were escorting kids to and from Carline and to and from the SYA in the main building. So we'd like to thank all of our staff for being in their assigned places and making sure all the kids and the parents knew exactly where to go under these new conditions. SEL, we had a wonderful SEL presentation, as Carrie stated before, by our mental health professionals. And we also have a daily check-in with students that the teachers are doing every single day, checking in on the emotional and physical well-being of all of their students, whether it be in person or remote. And then Mrs. Rambo is keeping that data and combing through it to see if there needs to be any personal interventions. Cooperation with PPE, the kids were great with the masks, the staff great with the masks, and some were wearing shields as well. Social distancing requirements, everybody was doing what they needed to be doing, and no resistance there. Daily health questionnaire, the staff as well as parents, they fill out a daily health questionnaire regarding COVID symptoms, and that has been a successful implementation. We are still working on getting some parents' contact information updated so that we can make sure everybody is in the system for communication on things like this. But for the most part, we had really great results with the daily health questionnaires. We have a brand new nurse's office, which is beautiful, and a designated quarantine room. We have not had to use the quarantine room yet, but it is there in case we do need it. We thank you so much to the board for everything, for all your support during these unprecedented times. But we thank you for allowing us to hire 7 permanent substitutes. These individuals are certified teachers, and they are in the building to help in any way that they need to help. And it has been a tremendous blessing to have them, and will be, as people will need to go out possibly and take some sick days. We will have them in the building, so we won't be scrambling to get classes covered. And these are all excellent, excellent teachers and wonderful people to have on staff. So thank you for that. Now on to some grows. These are things that when reflected upon, we saw needed improvement and tweaking, and we are in the process of working on that. One of the things that came to our attention was the expediting temperature taking on Carline. So we have ordered new thermometers that will be more reliable, and we have structured Carline a little bit differently going into this week than we did last week in order to prevent the log jams with the cars and taking too long with taking the temperatures. We've also increased the staff presence in that area so things can move along a little quicker. Student cohort assignments. This was very tricky. This was done over the summer, and there were certain things that had to be factored in when placing a student in a cohort besides alphabetical order of last names. Some of the things that were being considered were IEP services for our special education students, ENL services for our language learners, siblings together, keeping them together in cohorts to make it easier for parents for childcare, and also parent requests for remote learning pods. So all of those things were taken into consideration to balance out the cohorts the best that we could through grades K through 8. Since then, we have had some new parent requests, maybe, some revelations. They didn't realize that maybe if their children have different last names, they would have to kind of alert us that they needed to be in the same cohort. Some parents actually didn't want their kids in the same cohort because they wanted to focus on one child at a time while helping them with remote learning. And some other issues with cohort placement. So we were working out those glitches and making some switches, and we are continuing to do that every day. One of the things we are also looking at are homeschool applications. We currently have 36 students that are on homeschool assignment. That means that they're not technically on our rosters, although they are in our district and our students, but after a 10-week period, they can opt back in to coming to school and doing the hybrid learning model. So we will see some movement throughout the year, I think, as we stay open. And so we have to be fluid with how we deal with the cohorts, kids moving in and out of those cohorts, depending on their personal situations. Car line passes are being created for K through 8 families, particularly this really has to do with more the little guys to expedite. They're going to be color coded, so we know if it's a third grader, we know that this is the family of student A, student B, and we can expedite the car line a little bit quicker, both arrival and pickup, but this is mainly for pickup, so we know who's picking up the child, and that we've sort of front loaded the work on that. So we're not scrambling trying to figure out if this indeed is the person who should be picking up that child. Library hub, many rooms throughout the building, if they're not being used as learning spaces, learning classrooms, they are teacher hubs where the teachers in certain pods are working together, planning together at a certain grade level, but with social distancing. The library still had quite a bit of furniture stored in it, and it wasn't conducive to videotaping and doing some of the remote learning on the remote learning days. So everybody put their heads together, and we are in the process of making that a more user-friendly teacher hub for the teachers that are stationed, the K through 5 teachers that are stationed in the library. Parent portal, we noticed that we got a lot of emails and phone calls from parents that were unfamiliar with how to register or log in to parent portal. Some of them were quick fixes, other ones needed a little more intervention. What we would like to do going forward is maybe host an evening where we can run a tutorial virtually or in person with social distancing for both English speakers and our Spanish speaking families. We think that would go a long way with getting everybody into the system properly. Once again, front loading it will take care of a lot of issues down the road that might have popped up. Digital access for primary grades. We are still waiting on Chromebooks. They are back ordered. Speaking with Mr. Gibbons today, it looks like it's going to be a couple more weeks before they come in. So what we have done is the teachers have graciously put together very quality work packets, and we are using hard copies of the social emotional learning survey, which gets distributed to the children. So even though they don't have their Chromebooks, they're still able to do standards-based work, and they are still able to have their SEL check-ins with their teachers. It's just on paper temporarily until they get their digital devices. Traffic flow on School Street and Old Stone Highway. Day one, it got a little tricky with only making the right out of the driveway onto School Street. Things got a little backed up. So traffic patterns, with the help of East Hampton Town Police and Officer Kim, we were able to restructure some of the traffic patterns so there's not, again, that sort of bottleneck at Old Stone Highway. We need more radios for our staff members, since people will be taking the children out for mask breaks and outdoor recess, weather permitting. So radios have been ordered so that our goal is to put a radio in the hand of every staff member for every day that they are in attendance with students. Lunch and recess monitors. We are a little short on lunch and recess monitors, just due to some last minute scheduling issues with the monitors themselves. We are putting an ad in the paper, so if you know anybody who's interested, lunch and recess monitors, we need you. Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, 2 hours a day. And if anybody needs information on that, they can contact me directly. So we are hoping that to grow in all these areas, and we are always looking for feedback from all stakeholders. So please email or call, and hopefully together we can figure this all out. And I have to say, I am incredibly proud of everybody on the staff and our students and our parents for really working with us and being incredibly flexible and patient as we work out some of the bugs here. But I think we did the impossible. We opened during a global pandemic, and we did so safely with everybody's well-being and protection number one concern. So that's where we are.
Thanks, Christine. That's very thorough. I'm glad there are some positive things, and that you realize very quickly the things that, a certain amount of things that need to be fixed and changed. I'm sure you'll figure out a few more things in the upcoming weeks of stuff that you'll have to tweak, but it looks like you seem to have a handle on these things for now. Yeah, I've seen some posts of people about the Chromebooks. Do we know how far back ordered they are? What's that?
When we checked in with John Gibbons today, he's our liaison with the company. They're saying the end of September. So we're about, probably about 2 weeks out. Hopefully it could change at any moment. They're waiting from the supplier themselves. So fingers crossed the next 2 weeks, but we're trying to make accommodations for those students, those teachers, and those parents the best we can until we get those Chromebooks in.
Okay.
And many of our students do have devices at home that they can use. It's just in school, they don't have their Chromebooks.
Right, gotcha.
Christine, how are we handling it if a parent either forgets or doesn't complete the health questionnaire and the child is dropped off at school?
Well, I believe, Deb, correct me if I'm wrong, there's a way to see, I think, who's tracking that? The Human Resources Department or Deb Girardi?
Deb Girardi is tracking that, and then the parents will be notified.
So they would have to come pick up their child if the health questionnaire, if they don't have symptoms, they can, right?
Yeah, they just have to complete it, and then we're okay. We have been in contact with some families, and Deb's doing a phenomenal job. Deb Girardi's doing a phenomenal job of reaching out to parents with questions, and also their physicians, and just staying on the same page.
So Deb's getting the attendance first thing in the morning and checking it against who filled out the health questionnaire?
Yes, Dave. We are looking into an app, which is, they said, 6 weeks out to be installed, because there's a lineup of schools that want it, that will read into eSchool, as well as for our staff that will go into our ASOP manager for staff, which will be a lot easier to organize and look at and see who filled it out, who didn't fill it out. Right now, it's kind of a tedious process in the morning.
Yeah, I bet. But But that sounds like a good app if we can get it eventually.
Yeah, it's, they said 6 weeks out. Hopefully we can get it sooner.
Okay. Regarding the parent portal tutorials being needed, are we sure that we have every parent's, email and phone number? Are people responding to the things that you're sending, or do you still think there's still people out there who have,
John Gibbons is checking when we send out Barbara Blackboard Connects to see what gets kicked back, what doesn't get answered. He's been calling parents daily. Liz Mallins has been calling parents daily, translating, making sure everything's up to date. So it's really important not only for the information to get out to parents, but if their child does get sick, that we have the correct information to reach them to come get their child. So if they, if anyone has changed their cell phone or email, please contact us so we can change it in our systems.
right. And so when parents are using the parent portal, is all the information they actually need about their kid there? The schedule is it stuff there for like what's going to happen each day when their kid has to log in? Like in terms of like a daily schedule in there, or is that just like the standard overall schedule?
There are child schedules in there for every day. And the remote schedules are, Christine, correct me if I'm wrong, up on our website. And I'm sure that the teachers will be sending them out as well.
Yes, they're Wednesday, everything will be up on the website. They were making some tweaks to the remote schedule. They wanted to get a little more input from the students themselves today and tomorrow. And so that will be posted on the website, but the teachers they have everything posted on their individual Google Classrooms and websites as well.
Is it possible to have that all on Google, on the parent portal, so parents have one place to go to see all that stuff?
We can look into that. I'm not quite sure the answer to that, but we can absolutely look into that.
It's a new feature coming out, John just said.
There we go.
Okay.
Okay.
See, they have some grows too.
Great.
So Christine, I'm just to clarify, so the off days, the remote learning will be posted in the morning or on a Monday? The remote learning days?
There's a standard schedule, Pat, for remote learning that any day that's for middle school. So 6th, 7th, and 8th grade have a separate remote learning schedule for every day that they're remote.
And where's that schedule found, on the website?
It's the same. John, did you post it on the website yet? Gibbons? I have to look.
It's under parents.
And then the teachers' times to be there as well, when to meet with the teachers, like on, say, a B day.
Yes. So it's every day. So Pat, whatever, let's say, every day, second period, Miss Farmer's available for her 8th grade social studies. Then third period, every day, Mr. Schwab's available for 8th grade science. So Lisa and Maria took that, and thank you, and cross-reference that to make sure that there weren't any conflicts.
So it's on the
So again,
website.
that's on our website, you're saying? There's one?
On the
I'm looking right now.
But I think for, like I said, on Wednesday, things will be finalized before Wednesday for the new remote schedule. But I think for each individual student in grade 6 through 8, the parents can get that will be put on parent portal, I believe, because that's where their schedules are as well.
Yeah, because I looked today in the 7th grade, in the 8th grade one, I couldn't find the
It's
remote schedule.
probably just not posted yet, Pat, because they're tweaking.
The tweaks,
So-
okay, that's fine, well, to know that.
So to clarify, the schedules are up on our website. If you go onto our website under quick links,
Okay.
and it's on the bottom, distance learning schedule, grades 6 through 8, you click on that, then you click on learning schedules, and it brings it up for you for each grade.
So
So
we're
there's
gonna make this a little bit simpler.
8th grade.
We're gonna try to make this simpler, is that what you're saying? It's a lot of clicks to get somewhere.
Yeah, we can try to put everything in one place. We'll work on that. I will add that to my grow list.
You know, it's like push this button, push that button, push that button. Fight with the kickers, he's not doing his work.
I know. It's partly the website hosts that everything is more than one click, unfortunately.
Okay, I'll go to the website. Okay,
But it is right there under quick links.
okay.
So if you are tweaking as you go, if a kid doesn't do something correct on they're supposed to, is there, some leniency as everything is getting worked out here with timing and scheduling?
Yes, flexibility is the name of the game. Yep.
Okay, thanks, Christine. Does anybody have any other questions for Christine at this time? Then if we want to go ahead to our Deb to do the superintendent report with enrollment and an update.
I'm going to start with enrollment. So if you look at our enrollment and do the numbers without pre-K, if you look at our new registrants, that's 642. If you add the 38 students for homeschooling, Christine, I think that's what you said, 32 from
36.
36. So if you look at that 36, that puts us to 678. It is only off by a few students of our 685 for the previous year at this time. So we're anticipating that the number of homeschool children, depending on what occurs going forward, may or may not continue the whole year on homeschooling. So yes, our numbers are down right now at 642. But when you add that homeschooling number in, we're really off by literally 7 children from where we were last year. So I just want to call that to your attention. And remember, last year was a big group of pre-K students, 61. This year we're at 35. 35 children are on a wait list for a pre-K program, Eleanor Whitmore program that we currently use. Even on our private schools, the only private school that had really an uptick was Hayground from last year. Otherwise, the numbers at Ross have been pretty consistent as well. And Our Lady of the Hamptons is also maybe up by 1 student from last year. We did not see the increase that other districts on the East End saw.
So Deb, just to confirm that our usual enrollment report here, this is not listing the homeschool kids on here.
Correct.
So maybe during this time, while we have increased homeschool, can we just have a list of those numbers on there somewhere so we can get a figure to how many kids are in the district? That would help, I think.
Yep, we'll add it.
Okay.
In the past, homeschool numbers have been maybe 2 or 3 students.
Yeah.
That's it. So this is a large number, and we understand why. There were lots of different circumstances that we could not accommodate remote 5 days a week. Didn't meet the definitions of a 504. It didn't meet, definitions set by the Department of Health or by the CDC. So parents were really, had to make that personal decision what was right for their families. And we supported them, gave them some resources for programs. And they know that if circumstances change at any time, to please let us know, and we're here to assist them.
Right. I think if you could maybe list them as like new homeschoolers or something that we're assuming are probably going to be temporary based on what's going on. Discounting the people who prefer to homeschool, every year.
Yeah, as I said, these are the new ones. Yep. Okay, and then I want to talk a little bit about the cohorts. Pat brought that up. So I'm going to go to board docs. Mike Strecker did add the cohorts. So let's take a look at that right now. And again, Christine, Mike Strecker did an incredible job trying to balance our classrooms with E&L students and students with disabilities. Kindergarten, you have classes in kindergarten that range from 15 to 19 students. The most in a cohort is 11, the least in a cohort is 5, and a lot goes into that for that imbalance that you see there. In first grade, again, the lowest class size is 13, the highest is 17, with our cohorts being anywhere from 6 to 10 students. Second grade is a little larger. They go anywhere from 14 to 18, and their cohorts are consistent as well, about 6 to 10 in their cohorts. Third grade, again, the numbers are pretty consistent across the grades. 16, 18 is the total number in each one of those classes, with cohorts ranging from, again, 7 to about 11 in a class. Fourth grade, a little lower in one section, 12, but then there's sections that are high as 16, and their cohorts are 7 to 9 children in a class under the Department of Health guidelines there as well. Fifth grade is where we added a section because their numbers were high. So they are at 4 sections for fifth grade, 18, 17 to a section, with, again, cohorts anywhere from 8 to 10 children. In one section, there are 11, but that is the inclusion class, so there are 2 teachers in that classroom. When you get to 6, 7, and 8, there are only 3 sections on a grade. So there's where your cohorts are the largest, 10 to 15 on the average in your cohorts, with class sizes as high as 28 and as low as 20 in the total enrollment numbers there. Our special ed numbers are pretty consistent. We did get a new tuition student, which will help our budget without any increase to staff on the special ed side. And our students in there, I have to say, I'm really very impressed with our students. They have been doing an amazing job, including our special ed students, with wearing a mask and being compliant and walking like a mummy with their arms out, using hula hoops, whatever visual we can provide to them to see that 6-foot distance we've been giving them. There are still children pending enrollment. The numbers I have given you are with the students that we know have to finish their registrations as well. Questions on the cohorts?
Yes, when you mentioned the middle school and 20 kids in a class, that's not the cohort. That's not
No.
20 kids in a class at one time. It's really half that amount, correct?
It's half, yeah. Your largest cohort class is actually 15. We have one section in SWAB, which is probably his advanced science, that has 15. Otherwise, it's 10, 11, 12. 10 is the least in your junior high. 6, 7, and 8.
So Deb, the 15 and the 10, I'm assuming, and I know you did, it's the right amount of spacing for the children. There's social distance, plenty of feet around them.
Pat, I'm glad you brought that up. As I walked through this building and you see the distance between these children, it's the right amount of distance. When I think back, these children were on top of each other. If you take a class like Mr. Schwab's room that has lab tables in it, they were on top of each other if you put 25 students in that room. That's a lot of students for that space. The junior high classrooms are really no bigger than some of the other classrooms. Our average class size is about 770 average. You know, there are some at 850, there are some at 660, but average is about 770. And when we did the math, we were right there with the Department of Health. When the Department of Health said average class should be 10 students, they were basing it on that 660 to 770.
Right.
The building just, though I wanted to open full with everybody in 5 days a week, I have to say, this building was built for this number of children. Just being able to walk through the halls, use the bathrooms. We haven't had any concerns about, too many children going to the bathroom at the same time. Going outside, these students have walked outside for their breaks. They each have their own lunch monitor and recess monitor, and we are trying to keep that person the same. Again, when you're cohorting children, you want as little number of staff in and out of those rooms as possible. So if there is a recess monitor that has these children, they have them for lunch and recess for that 40 minutes, 20 minutes for lunch, 20 minutes for recess, and then they come inside and they go to another class. So each recess/lunch monitor is working a 2-hour shift in the middle of the day. And they're doing a great job. I was out there today for recess, and who was doing exercises with children, who was doing relay races with children, trying to just have conversations with them. It's quality time because you have a small group of no more than 10. And the girls and I were just like, I was able to touch my toes today. I don't think I've been able to touch my toes in years. It was just nice to interact with the kids on a smaller basis. When Maria and I walked around to classrooms the first couple of days, students even commented that they felt the smaller class size was so much better, that they felt that, they had an opportunity to really talk to their teachers and to their friends. So again, thank you to the Board of Ed for supporting this. It's the right thing to do. 22 children in a classroom at this time with COVID, it is not the right thing to do for health and safety of not only our children, but our staff.
So Deb, when you're saying the school was built for this amount of kids, you mean this half the amount that we're having in at one time?
Yes.
Yeah, that's astonishing that everyone will be very aware of it when we go back finally,
When you really walk through this building, Barbara, and you look in these classrooms, and I invite you, again, we don't ever walk into a classroom and stay very long, and we wear our mask. But just in the doorway of these classrooms, and you wonder how we ever put more children in that space, because, you need space. You can't be on top of each other. And yet we were on top of each other. We had staff cramped into small places that, EnviroScience actually said there should not be. You can't be in that space. It doesn't have the right ventilation, but yet we had staff in those spaces because we had no other spaces.
I got the super hard question. To answer this question. So when I'm looking at the classroom sizes, the average classroom with cohorts A and B, each class is the average of 13 students per class grade. If you take first the kindergarten, there's 6 and 7, 13 students for that teacher, correct?
Yeah.
So when school comes back in session, are we going to leave the classroom that size, 13 kids per classroom? Or are we going to try to get them back to a 2022 classroom?
No, that section is 4 sections. We were at 3 sections for 4th grade last year, and actually had to go to the 4 sections for 5th grade this year because the numbers just spiked. So right now, if I was to go back full time, that's what that section would be. Because again, if you were to dissolve that section, then you'd have too many children in a classroom. We're just above the cusp. If you look at some of these numbers, Pat, 15 is about the average class size, and we're just above that in almost every section.
That's for remote learning. I'm talking about regular. So regular classroom size, the second around 15. Is that what the ideal is?
Yes.
In full session.
Yes.
You mean when we're back from COVID?
Going back remote, yes.
Back from remote, all students are in the class at one time. Is that the situation you're talking about?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
With COVID or without COVID, Pat?
Without COVID, back in school.
Okay. So then, yeah.
Classes remain at 13 to 15 students. There's 4 sections for kindergarten, 1st grade, 2nd grade, 3rd grade, and 4th grade, and 5th grade. So K through 5 is 4 sections.
You got to look at the total numbers, Pat. So if you look, you're looking at one class that might be 13, but then there's another class that's at 19 is the class size, another class that's at 15. Right, there's one section that's at 13.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, you know what? There wasn't even one grade that we could say we would bring back full time, and then it becomes the question of equity. Why would you bring back one grade full time?
No, I'm not saying that at all, Deb. That's not the question. The question is not bringing them back that way. The question was when school goes back in full course, hopefully, all the kids come back and they're going to remain in the same classrooms.
Yes.
With the same students. There are that many kids in that classroom. That
Yes.
means some will have 13, some will have 19.
Correct.
Right, so when we go back, A and B cohorts will be together, they'll still be with that same teacher, and they'll all be in one room together when we have the green light to go ahead and do that.
Right.
Correct.
That's the question.
Okay.
And today, if you were to walk around this morning, when they did their Google Meet this morning, children got to see the other half of their class.
Right.
They actually got to meet them on the board. So that was nice. And that's my expectations on Wednesdays, is to put the two cohorts together as well. They'll all be remote, but they'll be together. They're a class.
Yep.
Any other questions on enrollment before I go into my opening comments for reopening?
I'm good.
Okay. So we are extremely proud of our staff, but I have to say, I'm even more proud of our students. They really have risen to the occasion, from getting on the bus and having their temperature taken, to having their temperature taken before they even exit the cars at our schools, wearing their masks, social distancing, using hand sanitizers before lunch, after lunch, staying in their seat pretty much, but they get up. As I said, I did recess today and I did lunch today. And who was offering me a hand sanitizer that had a lemon smell? Who was offering me lunch, which I said, I'll have my lunch later. Thank you for offering. They were happy. They're just great kids overall. They really are. East Hampton High School is coming through for us to provide lunches for those that are entitled to free lunch, or for those who forget a lunch. We've been able to negotiate that. So I'm again grateful to East Hampton High School for making that arrangement for us. Due to the Department of Health concerns regarding the sharing of food, we did ask our parents to find another way to celebrate a child's birthday. We did put that out in an email to our parents. Find another way to celebrate, and we'll be happy to do that celebration with our students, but we just can't accept the sharing of food at this time. After listening to our students and our parents, we also made another accommodation to provide or allow our students small backpacks. What I'm seeing going around the school is the fanny packs. I didn't know that they still made them. So some of our staff are wearing it, some of our students are wearing them. That's where they're putting their hand sanitizers, their mask when they're not wearing them. So everybody's trying to be as creative as possible because they don't have use of their lockers. But we have said it was okay to bring their small backpacks in because they have personal items that they want to bring back and forth with them, including their water bottles. Christine Cleary, I don't know if you saw her beautiful letter today to the parents. So she sent out a beautiful letter today, again, kind of going over some of the changes that we've made, telling them to please make sure their emails and their cell phones are up to date so that we can communicate with them regularly. Things are constantly changing. Our nurses, again, just got into their new space literally on Superintendent's Conference Day, and continue to amaze me with their poise and their commitment to our students. I know Kerry and Deb also interviewed an LPN today who will be putting on as a monitor, so it'll be nice to have an LPN on staff as well to assist us. We still have custodials to hire. They will be part-time 4 days a week, so they may start sooner than the next board meeting because you've allowed me to hire part-time people. So we're looking at a daytime person and a nighttime person to help us with cleaning. And I am just very proud. I'm a proud superintendent, and it has been a group effort, and everybody's willing to help. If there's a problem, there's a solution right behind it, from our teachers, from our custodians, to our new assistant principal, acting assistant principal, Mrs. Mondini. Everybody is just voicing what we can do to make things better for everybody.
Oh, thanks, Deb. Does anybody, board members, have any questions for Deb right now about the opening?
No, Deb, can you explain to me, because I'm pretty, how the periods are working, the 0 period up to the 9th period? Or 8th
Yes,
period?
I was going back to some of your questions.
Okay,
So
great.
what the 0 period is doing for us is really nice. So we knew that our car line was going to be longer because not everyone is taking advantage of the bus, which it was an opt-in on the bus. So our students have from 8:20 to really 8:50 to get into school. During that time, it allows our students to open their Chromebooks, take their SEL check-in little survey, have teachers check in with them, maybe check homework, find out how they're doing, have them, maybe start something for their next class that they're aware of that they didn't finish for homework, something like that. So what I was explaining today is, some of us do better getting right out of bed in the morning and getting right out into the car, and then others need a cup of coffee, need to look at a newspaper before we get our day started. This time in the morning has really given our students that chance to come in, take a breath, get organized, plan their day with their teacher, do the SEL that we want for check-in. I really like it. Did it take some time away from their other periods? Yes, our periods went from 49 periods to 40 periods. At the end of the day, the same thing is occurring. Instruction stops about 2:45. Names for car lines start to be called from their classrooms. And then our buses are called at 3 o'clock, because remember, they're doing the high school run, so they don't get into our parking lot until about 3 o'clock. Contractually, we need to get every student out of the building by 3:20 because we lose our teachers. So our staff assistants, again, are willing to stay until the last child is picked up on car line, until the last child is returned, possibly. We had 2 students return today from the bus when there was nobody at the bus stop to pick them up. So that period is a little bit of a sacrifice, Pat, but I think overall it's helped us get in the building safely and given everybody a little bit of time that they've needed in the morning to get squared away.
Okay, so there's no instructional, it's not really an instructional period, it's pretty much just trying to get all the co-ops together in a classroom.
Sure, it's an advisory period. It's a nice period of time for the teacher that's their homeroom. When I went to school, we had a homeroom. All the W's were together in a room. So.
And, okay, so they're not gonna get frowned upon if they show up at 8:40 or 8:45?
Nope.
Okay.
They should not, okay?
They should not be, okay.
If you hear of anything like that, please let me know, but they're not to be penalized. They have until 8:50 to be seated in class.
Okay, so staff will remember that. Otherwise, I wouldn't bring it up.
I think we've answered how recess and lunch are going.
Yes, I asked the same question, yes.
As we get going, we will see what equipment we can put out there. I know some hula hoops have been put out there, but I have to say, I had a good time with the girls today. They were teaching me some dance moves as well, but I was teaching them some basic exercises. And all the recess monitors were doing the same thing. We were all little subgroups out there, distancing ourselves on the field. And I think that the plus side of this is the connections with students, the small groups, being able to make those connections during a time that connections are so important, to let kids know that they're cared for and we're interested in hearing about how they're doing.
And maybe we can explain to the kids too, they still gotta stay with their cohorts during recess or lunch. I think that's a hard hit on the kids. When they see their friends they haven't seen for 6 months, they can't approach them.
Yeah.
There has to be a softer way for them. They don't understand tomorrow. And we're trying to stretch it out for 6 months. Think about wait 6 months. They already waited 6 months. And when they see their friends across the schoolyard at recess, they can't go say hello to them. That is tough on them. It's an emotional thing right there. It's real tough.
It's really, really tough, Pat. I mean, the junior high children used to be able to pick what room they had lunch in so they could be with their friends. And
yeah, I understand. That's what I'm saying. We got to have the staff. I think these kids they're not intellectually smart enough or intelligent enough to understand what's going on. They're just being told, stay with your cohort. Maybe there could be a softer approach to approach that somehow. Because it is tough on them. Some of these kids haven't seen. They lost half their friends too. If their friends have different last names, those friends aren't in the building. And then the friends they do have in the building, if they're not in the same classroom, they don't get to see them during the course of the day, which is recess and lunch, and they can't approach them because they're asked not to do that. So we just got to find some way we can find a way to help these kids understand what's going on. Besides, when at home we try to explain it to them.
Well, maybe. Again, maybe that's something for that 0 period on the front end and the back end that, they could do some, Google Meets with friends,
I don't think it's the Google. I think they want the interaction about person to person. They've been, Google, but it's not the same thing. You do a Zoom meeting, it's not the same as sitting in a room across the room from somebody having a meeting.
It's just so hard that commingling is what they're telling us not to.
I understand that. So we just got to find a way to soften up for these kids, and how can we explain to them what's going on? Otherwise, they feel like they're being penalized.
It's public service, really, that you're doing. You're doing a public service by staying in this. It's a really important job that but it's a tough job.
Right.
They're helping people by doing that, really.
Yeah, and that's one of the things we can teach them. Explain to them in the classrooms what they're doing. As parents, we're parents. They don't want to hear us.
You know what, Pat? The administration can go around to classrooms. I really enjoyed my time in the 4th grade class today. I'll make it a point to maybe get out and be with the older kids and have those conversations in the small groups.
Thank God, they're still in 7th, 8th grade where there's not too much of a boyfriend and girlfriend stuff going out.
You know what? I can't imagine what high school students are going through right now. I mean, this is not we're social beings. We're really social.
Right. And when you're 12 and 13 and 11, it's tough. So I'm just giving you feedback that I'm getting from some of the kids.
We'll put our heads together and see if there's some way to
soften the blow.
Hey, Deb, this is Dave. In regards to protecting the integrity of the cohort, I think it's important that parents who have siblings in the school, those siblings should all be in the school on the same day.
We honored, I believe it was one request that they were on different days. I hear what you're saying, but I think we did already honor one.
And
was it only one, Christine? Yeah.
And it was just for preference for?
It was 1 or 2. It was preference because Dave, they wanted to be able to have individual time with each of their kids on remote learning days. So it was a parent that had the time during the day, but they wanted to split them up basically.
So the parent just wants to have more quality time with each of the children individually in the house?
As they're assisting them with their remote learning, yes. Because one of them was a younger child.
Okay. because it cross contaminates the two cohorts if there's an
Yeah.
outbreak. That's the problem. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
this is something I think we talked about prior, but Christine, you might not have been privy to it.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, we can discuss that, another time, but.
Yeah, we tried to honor all requests, Dave. Like there were some that felt better that were in the B cohort, but because of childcare, they requested the A cohort. So even though their last name was a B cohort, they couldn't get childcare on the other side. So they asked to be put in the A cohort because they could get childcare. So we really tried really hard to accommodate any special requests.
Yeah, and I think once the cohorts are assigned, then you just need to stay consistent and keep those kids in those cohorts. But
Correct.
if you have siblings who go home to the same house every night, but they're in different cohorts, it kind of defeats the purpose. Anyway.
I think you bring up a good point though, Dave. We also have people that are not related that live in the same household. So that's something that we should probably, maybe we could look at.
Yeah,
Again,
if that's the case, those kids should all be in school in the same cohort.
Yeah.
We need to be in on the same days.
Guys, I think it's a dynamic situation. You just have to be flexible and try to figure it out the best you can. There's no perfect scenario. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think we have to stay fluid with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not allowing parents to go back and forth between the
And again, parents need to have the ability to come and talk about it, but that doesn't mean, if there's a good reason, sure, but if there's not, then you have to stick with the consistency.
Right.
Well, right, exactly.
Guys, I'm getting tired.
What's left, Barbara?
Sorry, I'm talking into the void here. I was muted.
Athletic.
The athletic question that has come up now, the way it's been decided now. So do you want to quickly review that?
Quickly review it. I think it's been all over the news, but Section 11 from Suffolk County followed suit with Nassau County in conjunction with the Athletic Council and has postponed all sports until January 4th due to the COVID pandemic. What they are looking to do is to make sure that all sports get in. So the seasons have been shortened. Season 1, winter, will be January 4th to February 6th, and then season 2, late winter, February 8th to March 20th. Season 3 is the fall, March 22nd to May 8th. And that's if all goes well going forward with the COVID numbers. It was not an easy decision. Part of it was based on cohorting, that word again, lack of locker room space, increased cost for transportation, security for districts, equity. There were some districts who out and out said they didn't save for COVID. They did not take the 20% out in state aid. So they were scrambling just to open school, never mind open sports. So unfortunate for our students. I understand their decision, but again, disappointing, another blow to our students, that's for sure.
Thanks, Deb. Does anybody have any questions about that at this point? Then in that case, I will open up the meeting to public commentary number 2. Julie or Carrie, do you have any questions from anybody who's been in touch?
I just have one question from Miss Dolan. Hopefully she's still on. She asked, should the middle school students expect to have a Google Meet with each of their core subject teachers on their homeschooling days, and when will that start?
It should have started today for the B cohort, and then tomorrow will be the A cohort on remote, and then Wednesday, both cohorts. And it is a schedule.
Yeah, Deb, I did look at the schedule, Deb, that Kerry walked me through. going to the website, going to the 8th grade schedule, and going down the list. Can we send out somehow to send out a direction on how to do that to the middle school, to the parents as a text if they can't find it?
Yes.
Pat, and I'm sure the teachers will have that on their Google page as well.
Well, the thing for my 8th grade, it's not there, Dad. And that's what and then when you explain how to get to it, I found it. So maybe the kids might want to tell their parents.
We'll get
We're
it.
gonna find out. Maybe somebody else wants to tell the parents.
Right. Yeah. Well, you just send out a text on how to get to the schedule. That'd be great.
We will send out a text tomorrow, not tonight, but tomorrow.
Yeah, first thing in the morning, I found mine.
I'm going to add to our open house. Make sure we touch base at open house on that as well.
Open house, we are looking at, not this Thursday, Christine, next Thursday. What's the date on that? It'll be remote.
The 24th at 6.
Yeah, but we haven't pinned down the date exactly yet. We have to check with everybody, but that's what we're looking at. We're gonna do virtual. And we're looking into creative ways to roll that out this year to make it sort of individualized and, but still meaningful.
Julie, did you have any questions then?
No, I don't have anything, Barbara.
Okay. And that was it, Carrie, from there?
Yes, that was it.
How many people are still watching us at this point?
Hold on, I'll tell you in a minute. 22.
Oh, wow, that's great. Okay, good. Okay, so we've covered quite a lot. Our next meeting is, so we have a work session on the 5th of October, and then the next regular board meeting is on the 19th. Okay, do any other board members have anything to bring up at this point?
All good.
No? Okay, then thank you, everybody, for being here. Do I have a motion?
Thank you, everybody.
Thank
What?
you.
Thanks, have a good night.
Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Good
Bye.
night. Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, Julie. Thank you. Thank you, John Gibbons.
You're welcome.
Great job, Christine. Thank you.
See you tomorrow, Deb.